Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yohan, and this episode is on cellular memory. So here's Kuntarkis.
I'd like to actually talk a little bit about cellular memory. And the reason that prompted me to talk about it was my last night's experience. I found myself sitting on a chair, which was a nice chair. It looked like it was material, a greyish colour with some black amongst it, and very comfortable. And I was just sitting there. I had my left leg over on my right leg. I had a little folder with me, and I was looking at the folder, and I opened it up, and it was pivot points. In other words, subjects, but it was pivot points. So I knew what I was going to be talking about each moment. I would look at the top one, number one, and I would go on. And then when I had enough, I would look at point two and do that. And that brought back all the memories of what I was meant to talk about in order, which was good. I remember this man coming out, and he had a foreign accent, and I honestly can't place what type of accent he had, but he was like us, a Westerner. I can even see his face with his hair. I can see pretty well he had a lightish green jumper on, and it was quite cold over there. And what I had on was one of those long coats with a fur on the back of the collar. It was a furry collar, and it was like a business long coat. And I had a Chinese suit underneath it, which was interesting because I love Chinese suits. And he said to me, Kuntarkis. He said, "Will I call you Kuntarkis or do you want Roman?" I said, "No, Kuntarkis is my real name, as I explained. Kuntarkis will be fine." He said, "Kuntarkis, would you come with me, please? We're actually ready." So I got up with him, and I was walking with him, and he was talking to me about different things throughout the day. And he knows that I've got everything in order, so I don't need any backup system or anything. And we walked down this long, long hallway. It was really long, about 2 meters wide. And it was lino, a very nice lino in squares. It had trees and everything in it. It was really interesting. And I noticed how well the building was constructed. It was like not new, but very well looked after. Had very high ceilings, probably 12, maybe 14 feet. And we were walking down. I could see some double doors on either side of the hallway. And we got down so far, and we turned. He said, "Oh, we're going through these doors." So he said, "But before we go in through these doors," he said, "I just want to say to you, thank you for accepting the offer and coming to my country. So it must be overseas somewhere." I said, "You are very welcome." And he opened the door, and we walked back to the right on the opposite side of the wall, up this little hallway, and it came out onto a set of stairs that we went up about 5 stairs, and we were like on a massive platform, which was like a presenting platform. And I noticed there were big curtains, there were lights, and he said, "I will introduce you. I will go out and talk and introduce you, okay?" He said, "Just remember, we have well over 500 people, male and female." I said, "Okay." He said, "They're very, very interested in what you're going to talk about. In fact, they are extremely interested in what you're going to talk about." He said, "There are scientists, there are doctors, there are psychologists," and he did mention a couple of other things, very spiritual people. And I said, "Oh, that's really, really good." He said, "Are you okay? Do you want a drink or anything?" I said, "No, I'm fine." And I looked down at my body, and I realized that I created a physical body, and I was in a country. How I got there, I'm not 100% sure. And I waited, and I heard him go out, and suddenly there was this mass audience clapping, him coming on stage. And I could see him in the distance I'm sort of to my left in a way, and he's got this podium standing there, like a podium where he's going to talk with a microphone. And he was talking about, different things, and he was saying, "I now have Kuntarkis," and He doesn't have a last name as Kuntarkis, and I'm going to introduce him now. I won't waste any more time. And here is Kuntarkis. And he put his hand up and he sort of waved me on. And I walked up and outside. And as soon as I walked out there, mate, I got the massive, massive applause. It was just incredible. And I felt so humble. I just put both my hands up and sort of, as if to say thank you. And he looked at me and patted me on the shoulder and he left. And I started talking in a nice way. And I said, well, the reason I am here, from what I can gather, and going by what I've got on my document here, it's all about cellular memory. So let's get started. And I started talking about it. And the interesting factor is, I won't be able to say exactly what I said there, but I know what I'm going to be saying, so that's not an issue. We've spoken about cellular memory, cellular structure, and all that type of stuff, but I'm going to go 1 or 2 or even 5 steps deeper in another way. When you say the words cellular memory, what we're talking about, if I was saying it, it would be from a very spiritual perspective about our living energy cells that create our human existence and all the other bodies that we have within us and around us. And when I say that, I'm talking about your spirit, I'm talking about your emotional body, your physical body, or the astral body, also the aura, the etheric, all that type of stuff. And if we look at living energy being cellular cells that formulate consciously the human being as well as many alien beings, we are privileged as a species. The reason we are privileged as human beings is because what we also have is cellular memory within every single organ within our bodies, especially our hearts. Our heart, the capacity is so huge to hold memory of every movement, every thought that we create throughout our entire life as a human being. That's one lifetime. When we perish, that memory is automatically within our cellular structure in its memory. It holds all the lives that we have actually had. And it never dissipates. It's there always. When we perish physically, all the memory, the cellular memory from the internal organs, including the blood, including the nervous system, your kidneys, your liver, everything, your lungs, it has cellular memory of all the thoughts and actions that we have taken throughout that life, as well as our characteristics. Now, the body is a fascinating thing. If we learn to go beyond logic in our human brain, we can adapt to what is called the mind, which is pure energy that is within us and around us. The mind is the connection to our heart, directly to our soul. The interesting factor is all the information that comes from the soul comes through the mind to the heart, to the human brain. The human brain, unfortunately, has a really massive ego. And it's very obvious if we study human evolution from the past to the present, where we have the violence, the wars, the rape, the serial murderers, the psychopaths, the narcissists, just really, really negative people. And that's why when Vimera explained to me that 41% of the human population are basically evil. That evilness is within all the cellular memory of the flesh body, as well as within the spirit cellular cells. It's there. So, with all that memory being held, we have an issue. In America, there's roughly 2,200 operations, which is called heart transplants. Naturally, when you get a heart transplant, you also put onto several different types of drugs, so there's no form of rejection of that heart in the human body or the human body rejecting the heart. So that keeps its balance. It's a known fact all around the world where scientists and doctors and even psychologists will not accept anything that I am saying because they believe it's all based on physical, I suppose, experiences in that body while you're in that body, and that's it. When the body dies, everything dies. Yes, you can transfer the heart into someone or a kidney or a liver, but it's a proven fact in different kind of organizations that aren't really out there, but they know the truth. If you have someone's heart placed into your body, that can change you completely. If you're a carnivore, you may even become a vegetarian if the person that you now have their heart was a full vegetarian. And they may have been, say, a racer in cars or on a motorbike or on a push bike, or they may have been, say, doing free fall diving with his jumpy cords and all that type of stuff, or just into health. The characteristics don't die. They're embedded within the human heart. So when that heart goes into your body, those characteristics, which are memories of that person that owned the original heart, are now within you. And it can change your entire characteristics within, say, 3 to 6 months. And suddenly, you're really into being a vegetarian, or you're really into riding motorbikes or push bikes, or just being a real health nut. So that proves that characteristics flow on if you get a transfer of a certain organ from another person's body. The best thing to understand, that is to our advantage. Because if your body remembers every movement you do, you can recall through the mind all those movements and never forget and never have Alzheimer's, where you will remember everything, all the writings, all your readings of books, everything. Everything will come back up to you. And that is the interesting factor, because the Nicarons, the Ilias, the Doricans, all those types of societies who are alien beings from other worlds, they don't have disease. They may have from the beginning of their time, but they don't. So why don't they have disease? Well, one thing, they're vegetarians. Second thing is, they're very spiritual and very open when it comes to consciousness in their own development. That's the good sign. We here on Earth have lived a very negative existence as a species called human. We have killed each other dozens of times. We have bashed each other dozens of times. We have raped and murdered dozens of times. Some may have created hundreds of times. I mean, look at Hitler. Hitler was supposed to have died in 1940, at the beginning of 1945, shot in the head as his wife was. His 2 children were taken by a general who was a very close friend to Hitler, taken to America as his children. The interesting factor is, I know when Hitler died, he was in his early 80s. And I found Hitler in the spirit world just by chance. And I put Hitler into the dome that I created in the fourth dimension. It took me a very long time to eventually accomplish it. Hitler, if he was reborn, and if he was a very intelligent man, a very open-minded man, he could start to bring forth some of his memories and become what he was as Hitler. That's why there are so many murderers who have been murderers in many lifetimes, and they don't even know why they're doing it. But what's happening, they're triggering something within their cellular structure of their memory when they become born into a human body through certain types of experiences because of their level of consciousness. And they become a murderer, a rapist, a pedophile, a writer, a journalist, a car manufacturer, whatever you want to become or whatever you were. You can be negative or you can be positive. It depends on the level of your consciousness as you evolve through your own lives. That's the interesting factor. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so you're saying that when a heart is transferred, that all the stuff comes, like all those memories are sitting there.
Yes.
Wow.
And they can be activated. Sometimes because it's the heart, and the heart is one of the most vital, important organs in the entire human body because it is based on feelings. So if somebody is negative, for instance, they really have a very negative life, and all they care about, say, is money, making money. They don't care about people. They don't have feelings. They don't care who they hurt when they make their money. Suddenly, they have a heart attack. Massive. And if they don't have a heart transplant, they're going to die. So they may be kept alive for several months before they get a heart, if a heart becomes available. So a heart becomes available, and they have a heart transplant. Then they start to feel better, and suddenly out of nowhere, they start to cry. And they've never cried, say, in their life. But they start to cry. And they start to act differently in front of people. In other words, somebody that copped all their abuse, suddenly this person is nice to them, expressing feelings to them. That will happen because of the characteristics that are within the heart from the original recipient. That's how it works. So we as humans have a real interesting ability. We can go beyond what we are consciously by connecting to the mind and direct link to the soul. And we can change our entire way of thinking and way of life. We can even develop ourselves beyond our body, just like I am when it comes to, say, projecting out spiritually out of my human body and then through my mind, creating the essence of living energy into something that feels physical and have a physical body and walk around on this planet as a spirit, but with a body that's been created from living energy and feels physical. And at the same time, we can travel, and we can travel beyond this planet and create a body. We can, how would you say, we can step into different dimensions because we have the ability to connect with the most important, one of the most important, say, forms of energy, the mind. But how many people on this planet, seriously, would physically understand that the mind is living energy? It is not physical, and it is 100% not the human brain.
So the mind, is that where, when we die, our cellular memories go?
Absolutely. And the spirit comes out of the body, and if you train your spirit from your physical understanding you will find the spirit will adapt that knowledge because it wants to. It wants to feel free because it knows deep down in its own essence that it is capable of doing so much more. The Charons, mate, they can project themselves out and create a physical body and say, hi. Say, hi, brother. The spirit looks at them and says, hi, brother. They can travel anywhere because they've been around for so long and they've always been purified through natural foods. And they don't have the clogging system like we do here on Earth. They don't have the massive fat cells that we here on Earth do. They don't have the massive negative emotions from every lifetime like we do here on Earth. And that's our danger point. And that's why we're dying younger all the time. And we're not going beyond that level of understanding because we don't know how to, because we're kept dumbed out. One big thing is our encased pineal gland that sits at the base of the brain. If we could clean that and dissolve that casing of fluoride, what we would find is we'd become clearer in our vision. And suddenly we would have no more problems with disease because disease is 100% illusion. But because we are so highly conditioned to believe in disease through every single lifetime, and now we've got the pharmaceutical companies pushing drugs onto us like it's going out of fashion. And I guarantee if somebody checked all the drugs, the important ones, if they double checked them through testing, they would find a lot of the times it has absolutely no value. It's not even the drug that they're talking about. It's just something that's synthetic. And because you're believing in those pharmaceutical companies, you're going to take those drugs and you're going to believe you're feeling better. Here's a way to do it. This is what I do. When I wake up, normally, the first thing I say, I am awake. I am living energy. I am formulating myself as a being to grow consciously because I am living energy. And I am beyond the human body. My spirit is beyond me. My body will die, but my spirit will never perish. It will always be. And what I can do is pass on my knowledge to my spirit to go beyond who I am. I say things like that, and I do it often. Sometimes I feel so overwhelmed with energy, I say, I am living energy. I am living consciousness. I am infinity. I live in the moment, but I am beyond it because I can travel anywhere through the manifestation of a body. I am not limited. I only believe I'm limited because of my conditioning. You break that conditioning, you will break your fears. You break your fears, you will suddenly realize that you have the ability to create what you believe is the impossible to become possible. And that's called conscious growth, conscious awareness, or self-awareness.
And healing, because there's no emotion to cause the healing.
Absolutely. I remember I just finished editing my book called Entanglement, The Long Journey Home. And there was a section a few days ago that I was going through, and I changed a bit of it about healing and getting people to understand the charlatans that exist in our world. We have so many charlatans who claim to be healers, and they're sexually perverted. I've known at least 7 of them when I was first doing healings, when I moved to the Gold Coast to heal myself from cancer. And what I saw and what women, mainly women, told me what these charlatans were doing, my eyes literally nearly fell out of my head. How they were being told that The only way I can heal you is to get direct energy, not living energy, because they wouldn't have understood that. But the word energy was quite popular. But to get that energy right to the base of your problem. Now, if you have cancer inside of your sexual organs, what do they call that? Oh, I can't think of it. Oh,
Like
it's gone.
ovaries.
Ovaries. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Ovaries. I have to insert my finger within you know where to project that energy directly to that source. Okay. That's what they believe
Oh,
because
gosh.
they're sexually perverted bits of garbage. But the truth, all you have to do is believe that you are a messenger to release energy through you onto that person simply by having them sit and stand behind them, put your hands, like clap them together and say, I am the light of all things. I am a vessel for living energy. And I ask the energy of healing, that is living energy, to come through me now. Then rub your hands together to activate it, like you would, rubbing two electric cords together to spark it. And put your hands just on the outside of the shoulders or on the top of your shoulders near the neck. But some people don't like that because they feel they're going to be choked. So you put them just to the side of the shoulders and rest them. And you open up your heart, and all you say is, my heart is open, and I allow the energy of all things to flow through me now, because I am an infinite being of light that takes in living energy in every moment of every breath. And just allow yourself to feel the energy flowing through your body, through your hands, into that person, filling their entire body with pure living energy, which is pure light. You don't need to think specifically where the energy has to go, because consciously that energy will flow directly to the part that is diseased. Then, if the person who is being healed believes it and says, I accept the energy, I accept the energy, heal my body, but not to where the point of the disease exists, because disease exists in your brain, not your mind, not your healing. And what you'll find, the disease will dissipate. The reason I say that 100% is truth. I did it with my lung and my other lung. My lung that was so decrepit, so bad, if you took a breath, it was like 1,000 knives being pierced into your left lung. That's how it felt. It was so bad. But if you step beyond that level of thinking and say, I accept the energies for healing now. I accept the energies for healing now, and believe it beyond all doubt, without thinking about your diseased lung, what you'll find, consciously, it will happen. It may take, 10, 20 times to do it, but it'll happen. And that's what happened to me. When I started getting into that healing, within months, I was feeling better. I mean, seriously better. If you knew me then, you probably would have cried the way I was feeling. It was just an incredible experience of life. And that's how I saw it. My own emotions created the BS. My desire was to dissolve the BS, and I did. When you say have sore knees, do the same thing. Put your hands together and just see the light emanating in your hands. And just place your hands above your knees. Don't put them on. And just see light going right down to your knees throughout your entire body. And say, I am being healed now with living energy. Because that is what I am. My conditioning is an illusion that I created. And my emotions have created my belief system. And that is what I've become, a belief system. Not a being, but a belief system. And that's what we have to dissolve and break. from our existence, our belief system, because that's what holds us back.
And those belief systems carry through our cellular memory?
Absolutely. 100%. Now, it's not so bad when you have the memory within your cellular structure. I'll tell you the reason why. Because you're not emotionally tied. None whatsoever. It's simply a memory. But in your human brain, you have full memory. And that's the problem. Because you live in logic and fear and insecurity and hate, violence, all your lives, what you're going to find is going to be very hard to break down the barriers of your human brain. You've got to work on it little by little, like a baby trying to walk, little by little, and letting go. And all you have to do is say every day to yourself, I now sit in the stillness of my being, and I now let go of all the emotions that affect my human life, especially this human life. I let them go, I let them go, I let them go in love. And I see it simply as a memory, neither negative or positive. It just is. If you say things like that every day, it takes you what? 1 minute or less? You will find your thought patterns will begin to change very dramatically. Very dramatically. The other day I had an experience. JC was in the garage doing playing with his stuff in the garage out of the boxes and things like that. And I was going out there to spend time and have a coffee. And I just made my coffee and I'm walking down the hallway to my bedroom and I suddenly stopped. And I just felt this massive lift. And I came out of my body and I swung around and saw myself frozen. And suddenly I felt I had to be drawn away, and I did. And I got drawn away to a guy that was going to kill his wife. He was so angry. He was to a point where he couldn't return. He couldn't come back. So he turned around and he was going to do what he was going to do. So, but what I did, I literally came in there with such force and I hit him in the back so hard with energy that he fell and hit his head and got knocked out. And I put the thought into his wife, because she was in such fear and pain, thinking she was about to die, that I put the thought, ring the police now, ring the police now, ring the police. And I put my 2 fingers on the side of her head and I projected that same thought through my fingers into her brain. Within seconds, she was looking for her mobile phone and she got it. She got up and she looked around. She was panicking a bit. And I'm just saying, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. This is energy, Michael. Don't panic, right? And she didn't. She suddenly started to calm down, said, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And she did. I was standing right beside her.
But she couldn't see
she
you.
grabbed the phone. Yeah, no, she didn't see me. She grabbed the phone and she rang the police straight away and said, my husband was about to kill me. And he fell. He had an accident. He fell. We've had a massive argument and he was going to kill me. He was threatening me and he was swearing so bad. I'm sure the neighbors heard him, but I couldn't do anything about it. I was just huddled by the lounge. And the police were there within 4 minutes. I watched them. And they came through the door and then I just pulled back and I went back into my body. And I said, wow, I never even picked that up, but that's what happened. And I went and got my coffee and I went outside and I sat down and I was sipping on my coffee saying, wow, did I just save a person's life from being killed? Because that's what it was.
Yeah,
The person was arrested. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So energy is everything and everything is energy. And we got to learn to understand that. When we really believe it, it's like if you believe that you can write the best music, then that means you're halfway there. But if you can believe that energy is everything and everything is energy, it is amazing, Michael, what you can do with it. Now, just to give you an idea, I was talking to my friend Des in Bendigo, and I said to him, I said, Des, I said, mate, look, I know that you're really getting a lot of things done. And I said, that's really great. And I said, I'm very proud of you for what you're doing. He said, mate, he said to me, mate, he said, if it wasn't for you, he said, I wouldn't be doing any of this, none of it. I would have given up on my first book and let it go, and I would have just forgot about it. But you changed everything for me. You really boosted me up. And he said, normally I'm a positive person, but he said, I was so down. And he said, when I got to know you and you really encouraged me, he said, I could give you the world for that. But he said, I tell you what, he said, I speak to this guy, Peter, over in Norway, real cold country. And he said, what they're doing for me, he explained everything, and he sent the information to me to let me read it and show me that they're turning a book that he's creating for the gold mine in Bendigo, which is only 10 minutes down the road from where he lives. What his brother did, Ray Deer, and who died very sadly, but he's created a book about the whole adventure. And this company, who's a publishing company, they decided to create the book into a children's book, cartoon, with cartoons and dialogue. And what he sent me was 17 pages, and it was brilliant. It was great. I couldn't believe it. It was fantastic. And he said to me, he said, look, he said, I've just given my friend, Peter, he said, your web address. And he got back to me, and he said to me, I want you to tell Roman that I am really, really, really interested in his books, especially the Book of Knowledge, I Am Alien. He said, that book, he said, I've just looked at it. I've read all about what he wrote there on his web. And he said, the philosophy, he said, the metaphysical, and he said, the knowledge of all those stories. He said, I am just overwhelmed, basically. And he said, I want to talk to him. And he wrote, Des wrote back to me and said, can you do it Tuesday or Wednesday night? I said, Wednesday would be great, not Tuesday, because my wife's working. So tomorrow night, we're having a 3-way conversation, and he's going to talk to me about what he'd like to do with the book.
Great. Yeah.
He's really, really keen. He has contacts in America, South Arabia, all those different places. And he's got this guy who's a sheik. Is it a sheik? Sheik?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, sheik. Sheik is a billionaire, very close to the same billionaire as Elon Musk. And he's got a big filming company. He created it. And he's very interested, apparently, in Western authors and writers because of the way they write. And he said, Pete apparently he sent a copy of Des's original book called Custody, Fight for Oliver. And the guy wants to turn it into a movie, but they haven't agreed yet. They have to, go through agreement terms and all that. But he's very keen to actually create it into an actual movie. And this guy, Peter, he said he would like to promote, because he's a promoter, he would like to find ways of getting sponsors and promote that book. So that's an interesting point, isn't it? So I've got to see tomorrow night what happens.
Promote your book, you're saying?
Yeah, my book, yeah.
Yeah.
The Book of Knowledge, I Am Alien. And when he heard that I had 4 books ready for publishing, he was amazed. 2 of them are non-fiction and 2 are fiction, based on reality. So he's really also interested in entrapment. But when Des said that, I said to Des, that I've now rewritten entrapment and call it Entrapment, the Pathway to Freedom. But I've also created Part B, which is Entanglement, The Long Journey Home. And he's really fascinated by my knowledge. He's curious to where the knowledge came from. He's never come across anything like it in the book of knowledge, I'm Alien. And he believes in all that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's great. And you're saying energy and energy because it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't supported Des.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
And I do it from the heart. That's how I work. You know, I've done a lot of things, mate, for thousands of people, but mostly not one of them have ever come back and said, "Can we give you a hand?" You know? But that's okay. I'm not whinging about it. That's okay. They're probably going through a lot of stuff that they have to learn, you know, and that's their trail of life. And that's just the way people are. You just got to go with the flow. And eventually, if you do things for a person without expecting anything back, you'd be surprised what actually happens.
It's got to be good karma, hasn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Have
you got anything else to say about living energy? What was it? Cellular memory, I should say. Cellular memory?
Cellular memory, yeah. I just want people to understand that you can connect with your cellular memory. I've done it, so you can. No matter who you are. Doesn't matter what level of thinking. Every single one of us does have the ability to go beyond who we are. But we have to be willing. And when I say willing, we have to be willing to ourselves, not to anyone else. That's not really important. What's more important is if we are willing to ourselves, because that's where it begins. Our pathway begins with us. And if we're willing to change our thinking and give up certain things in our life, then we're going to start to grow consciously. And the more we grow consciously, we're going to start to look more on how to adapt our energies to our mind. And when we learn to believe that the mind and the brain are separate, just like Nikola Tesla, he proved it. Just like Albert Einstein, he proved it. There are at least 400 to say 600 people on this planet that truly, truly believe that the mind is separate from the human brain. And all I can say is, I know it is 100%, because I've gone back into my cellular structure, or cellular memory, whichever you want to call it, and I've gone right back. I'm talking like over 1.5 million years to see myself as an Acharon. And I was a scientist. And that was an area that I was asked to do research on. And I did. And I discovered that the mind is reality. The brain, not all human, I'm talking Acharon, the brain is reality, but they are not together. They are separate. And once we learn to understand that, we can learn to adapt our consciousness to the mind. And we can literally work from the mind 100% and just have the human brain as backup for our logical thinking.
So what does the processing when it comes to your thinking and finding answers? Is it really that the mind already has the answer and the brain just has to get out of the way, or?
Yes, pretty well, exactly. We are caught up, Michael, in our thinking because we have been hijacked as a species by the elite criminals. What they're doing to us over the many, many, many human years, but especially the last 200 years and the last 100 years, is beyond most people's comprehension. We have been dumbed out so bad with thoughts, with negative energy, with radiation, with toxic foods, with chemtrails constantly sprayed in the air for the last 45 to 50 years, getting worse and worse. In America, it is just mind-blowing. It is horrible. You can see these planes all over going back and forth all over the place, and these massive chemtrails, and they're toxic poison to make us sick. So we go to the doctors and we buy more drugs and more drugs. That's why the elite criminals have hundreds of billions of dollars in their companies, all because of us being poisoned. I will never, ever take a drug, no matter what. I will look for a solution like I always have, and that's been my motto. Find the solution within yourself. It's there, if you believe. It's not within drug companies, because they're toxic poison. Yeah, they may look like they cure you, but they don't. They create more ailments. It's an illusion created into fantasy, which becomes our so-called belief that they're good, but they're not. If we do our research, there are so many companies now that are coming out in the light telling us that we can change our ways of life through our thinking by eating better foods. Now, to give you an idea, Misha and I have decided we're not going to buy veggies as much as we used to with Coles and Woolworths. I'll tell you the reason why. You buy the potatoes in Coles and Woolworths, and you go and, say, steam them or boil them, it takes so long. And for some unknown reason, they always seem to have a hardness within them. We went down to a place called Plainland. It's about 45 minutes from Toowoomba, and there's a place there called The Orange, and they have all sorts of veggies. Michelle went down there, what's today? Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And she ended up buying beautiful big potatoes, cucumbers, cauliflower, a variety of other things I can't remember right off my head. When I looked at it, I couldn't believe how the potatoes had an interesting smell.
Mm.
The cucumbers, they looked so new and fresh. The cauliflowers were small, but they were really crisp and hard. You buy them from Woolies and Coles, in a lot of the situations, they're soft. They're too old, or they've been waterlogged, whatever. The cucumbers only last a short period of time, and they're even soft and horrible to feel when you first touch them. When I compared the two cucumbers, I was amazed. So when you buy directly from a really good veggie shop, you're buying directly from a certain section of farming, and you're getting really good veggies. Michelle boiled two really big potatoes, left the skin on. I cleaned them up really well, boiled them up, cut them up, put them into a large bowl. She fried up onions, broccoli, pineapple, mushroom, fried it all up. And we put that all on the top with chili sauce and lovely sea salt. I couldn't believe how the potato was becoming softer and softer, and it was like nearly mashed, and you could just take a fork and break it off so easy with the other ones it needed, and it was so tasty. And that's because it comes from certain farms, where the veggies that come from all the farms, they're basically owned by Woolworths and Coles, and they're sprayed so heavily. And that's where the problem is. Big, big problem. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, it's good. You found a good source. Well, you're going to go back there again and again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll go back, 2 weeks or something like that, go for a nice drive and do that. Yeah.
Mm.
Just saying this to end cellular memory. If you listen to this when you put it, say not you personally, I mean anyone, if they listen to this episode, and they just turn around and say, oh, no, I wouldn't listen to that. That's a load of garbage. Scientists know what they're talking about. Well, they don't. Scientists and certain doctors are as ignorant as a lot of people when it comes to accepting knowledge beyond what they already know in their belief system. Anyone that has a belief system that's reinforced by their conditioning, it will be very hard for them to break that cycle because of their egos. That's the big issue. But when you're willing, because you feel it, and where do you feel it? In your heart. Your heart will always give you the truth. If you want to know something or get an answer, you always stop for a few moments when there's no one around and put your hand or hands on your heart and say, I accept the truth only. And I want to know by asking this question, will I do this? And listen to the first answer. If you trust and do exactly what is told to you in that answer, you will find pretty well most of the time it will come together, because the heart can only tell you the truth. The logical human brain will tell you illusion because it's based on conditioning, based on fear and insecurity. It's not based on fact. It's living in the grey areas of life because of our conditioning. I just want people to know that. And do your own research. The information is out there. You just have to search for it.
Yeah, very good. This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.